Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Tuesday, September 6th, Sioux Falls City Council meeting. Thanks for being here tonight. Tamara, we'll go ahead and get started by reading our roll, please.
Council members Nitzert.
Here.
Selberg.
Here.
Sale.
Here.
Starr.
Here.
Barranco.
Here.
Cole.
Here.
Jensen.
Here.
McCurris.
Here. Back with us tonight to give our invocation is Pastor Charlie Moore from Sunnycrest United Methodist. Charlie, thanks for being back with us, sir. Yeah. I'd ask you to stand for his invocation and then stay standing for our Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Father God, we thank you for a time to gather, a time to help and discuss and to come to the table for open minds, open hearts, to find agreements that are good for everybody. And we ask that you remind us to wear the clothing that you've told us to wear of meekness, humility, kindness, forgiveness, and most of all, love. Love is what binds us all together, and it's the love of you that gives us that chance. It's in your gracious name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you, Charlie, for the invocation. We'll move on to item 4, our consent agenda. Any changes to be made there, or we'll take a motion?
Move approval.
Second, Jensen.
Okay, motion by Selberg, seconded by Jensen. Any discussion on the consent agenda then? All right, let's take a vote, please.
Council members Nitzert.
Yes.
Selberg.
Yes.
Sale.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Barranco.
Yes.
Cole.
Yes.
Jensen.
Yes.
McCurris.
Yes.
All right, we'll move on to item 32, approval of the regular agenda. Any motion there?
Second call.
Okay, was that Councilor Selberg? Motion by you? All right, motion by Selberg, seconded by Cole. To approve that, is there an amendment we got to introduce here?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Sale?
I move to amend by placing item 65 immediately after 56.
Second, Jensen.
All right, motion by Sale, seconded by Jensen. Okay, let's take a vote on that.
Council members Nitzert.
Yes.
Selberg.
Yes.
Sale.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Barranco.
Yes.
Cole.
Yes.
Jensen.
Yes.
McCurris.
Yes.
All right, that passes 8-0. Back to the main motion as amended now. Any other amendments here? All right, let's vote, please.
Council members Nitzert.
Yes.
Selberg.
Yes.
Sale.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Barranco.
Yes.
Cole.
Yes.
Jensen.
Yes.
McCurris.
Yes.
All right, that passes 8-0. Before we move on with our regular agenda, I just want to review how public input works for tonight. I know we have a lot of new faces here. For our regular agenda items, comments are limited to 3 minutes unless the item is being presented for final adoption, in which case public input is limited to 5 minutes per person. For all regular agenda items, comments are limited to the agenda item under consideration at that time only. We also have general public input at the end of the meeting, which is 3 minutes per person, and for items we didn't talk about earlier in the evening. So with that being said, we'll move on to item 33.
Item 33 is a reconsideration of the motion to adopt Resolution 9022, a resolution approving the special assessment role for the mowing of weeds and grasses in various areas in the city of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. The City Council originally adopted this resolution at the meeting of Tuesday, August 9th, 2022. At the meeting of Tuesday, August 16th, 2022, the City Council adopted a motion to reconsider this item with formal action being deferred until the meeting of September 6, 2022, in accordance with City Ordinances 30.014D and 30.016. Sponsor is the mayor.
Matt, good evening.
Good evening, Council. Matt Tobias, Planning Development Services. Item 30, it's the assessment roll for mowing of weeds and grasses in various areas of the city. So at a total in 2021, we had 120 properties for a total of $9,065.25.
All right, thanks, Matt. All right, is anyone from the public here to speak on this? We reconsidered this item because we missed a lady for public input, and now she's not here.
She emailed me just earlier today saying she would be, or her mom would be here, so if they want to be heard.
We reconsidered this once because she missed, so we're going
It's
to
only two.
ask any questions for staff on this. Any questions here? Okay, take a motion.
I'd make a motion to approve.
Second
Jensen.
call.
All right, motion by Jensen, seconded by Cole. Any discussion here? All right, let's vote, please.
Council members Nitzert,
Yes.
Selberg,
Yes.
Sale,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Baranco,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
McCurris.
Yes.
All right, that passes 8-0. Next item.
Item 34 is a new 2022-23 retail malt beverage license for Arissa Incorporated, 1605 West Burnside Street, Suite 100, pending final inspections per building services. Item 35 is a request to add video lottery terminals with the 2022-23 retail malt beverage license to Arissa Incorporated, 1605 West Burnside Street, Suite 100. Item 36 is a new 2022-23 retail malt beverage license for High Rollers Casino LLC, 801 South Cliff Avenue, pending final inspections per building services. Item 37 is a request to add video lottery terminals with the 2022-23 retail malt beverage license for High Rollers Casino LLC, 801 South Cliff Avenue. Item 38 is a new 2022-23 retail malt beverage license for High Rollers Casino LLC, 803 South Cliff Avenue. Item 39 is a request to add video lottery terminals with the 2022-23 retail malt beverage license for High Rollers Casino LLC, 803 South Cliff Avenue, pending final inspections per building services. Item 40 is a new 2022 package liquor license for Kathmandu Indian Cuisine LLC, 5310 East Arrowhead Parkway. Item 41, request to add video lottery terminals with the 2022-23 retail malt beverage license to Mertens and Stodero LLC, Rack City, 309 South Bonson Avenue. Item 42 is special one-day liquor license for KJT LLC to be operated at 2400 South Riverview Avenue for a wedding on September 10th, 2022. Item 43 is a special one-day malt beverage license for Christ the King Church and School, 1801 South Lake Avenue for a picnic on September 10th, 2022. Item 44 is a special one-day liquor license for T-Slat Incorporated to be operated at 2510 East 54th Street North for a wedding on September 10th, 2022. Item 45 is a special one-day liquor license for T-Slat Incorporated to be operated at 2700 South Lake Avenue for a game on September 10th, 2022. Item 46 is a special one-day liquor license for T-Slat Incorporated to be operated at 3534 Southwestern Avenue for a chamber mixer on September 13th, 2022. Item 47 is a special one-day liquor licenses for KJT LLC to be operated at 401 East 8th Street for concerts on September 16th, 17th, 2022. Item 48 is a special one-day liquor license for T-Slat Incorporated to be operated at 480 East 69th Street for a wedding on September 17th, 2022. Item 49 is a special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for the Zoological Society of Sioux Falls to be operated at 805 South Kiwanis Avenue for an event on September 22, 2022. Item 50 is a special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for the Children's Home Society to be operated at 113 North St. Paul Avenue for a fundraiser on September 29, 2022.
Jamie, good evening.
Good evening, Jamie Palmer with licensing, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have for items 34 through 50.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Anyone here to speak on items 34 through 50? All right, see none. Any questions for Jamie? Counselor Nitzert?
Jamie, items 36 to 39, that would be 2 licenses, 20 terminals. Do you know if that's new to this facility or if it's adding on to what's already there?
So 801 South Cliff was a business, different business prior.
The
And-
arcade, probably? The arcade bar?
Correct.
I think? Okay.
Correct. Yep, bonus round, I believe, is what.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah.
So the address 803 is the parking lot for that business. And I believe that they were working with the county to combine those 2 properties so that they could have video lottery or 2 different video lottery casinos in that one building.
Okay, so this is a new entity starting up. It'll be a total of 20 machines. It's not on top of something
Correct.
that's already there. Okay, thank you.
Correct.
Mr. Mayor.
Counselor Starr?
Yes. How do we license a parking lot? before they combine the parcels? I
So
mean, how do we have the
they've-
authority to do that?
They've already done that. So they went through the county to work through to make the 801 and 803 addresses at the building rather than at the parking lot. They've already done that. So these two addresses will be in the building.
Are they here tonight?
Is that applicant here? I don't see them. Okay. No, I don't believe so.
All right.
Other
I-
questions?
No, I was going to make a motion.
Are you the applicant there that we're speaking about? Yeah, you're late. We voted on that. We deferred this once already, ma'am, because it was misled. 5 minutes is 5 minutes, so I'm sorry, ma'am. We voted on that already. Okay, any other questions on the liquor licenses? Okay, I'll take a motion.
I would move to approve items 34 and 35 and 40 through 40, actually 50.
Is there a second for that? All right, that's going to fail for lack of a second. Is there another motion to be made?
Move approval of all sale.
Second, Jensen.
All right, motion by Sale to approve items 34 to 50, seconded by Jensen. Any discussion there? Counselor Neitzer?
I will just comment that I'm going to be looking, and Civic Analytics has helped me with a map. I'm going to be looking very closely going forward at these addresses because you can start piling on licenses essentially in the same building and end up with more and more machines. So I'm going to be, that's why I asked the question that I asked. And it's not obvious. You could have 801 and 803. You know, if you didn't ask the question, you could have 805, 807, and 809, which were 30 machines already and scaling up. So we're going to have to watch this really closely. Thanks.
Counselor Starr?
My only intent is that we're going to have a quite involved discussion next week about the number of licenses. We've already deferred one. And so my concern is that we approve this one and being consistent, my goal was to push these two new licenses back to have the same discussion next week. And that was the point.
All right, other discussion on the motion here? All right, hearing none, let's take a vote, please.
Council members Nitzert,
Yes.
Selberg,
Yes.
Sale,
Yes.
Starr,
No.
Baranco,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
McCurris.
Yes.
All right, that's going to pass 7-1. Next item, please.
Item 51 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota rezoning property located at 100 East 85th Street from the C3 Community Commercial District to the LW Live Work District, number 16712, 2022, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval 4-0. Private applicant is Creston Capital Holdings, Erica Mullally.
Jason, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Jason Bieber with Planning and Development Services. This is an application by Erica Mullally, the owner of Springdale Development LLC. It's located north of West 85th Street and east of South Minnesota Avenue. It's about 4.79 acres in size. The purpose of this rezoning is the applicant's looking at constructing a mixed-use building with some retail and apartments on the main level, and then retain an area of commercial in that southeast corner.
All right, thank you, sir. Anyone from the public here to speak on item 51? All right, council, any questions for Jason on this item? Counselor Neitzer?
No question, just a statement. This one I will support, but I will be looking at Live Works closely in the future. This one's fine because it's the uses around it. And I love to mix use, that's not the point, but the problem is Live Work allows the MD2 form, which has been a thorn in our side for a long time. And you can end up with a 3-story apartment no matter what somebody proposes when they start. So if it's going to be near residential, I'm going to look really close at it. So thanks.
All right, any other questions? Look for a motion here.
Move approval. Second, Jensen.
Motion by Selberg, seconded by Jensen to approve item 51. Any discussion there? All right, let's vote on that, please.
Council members Nitzert,
Yes.
Selberg,
Yes.
Sale,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Baranco,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
McCurris.
Yes.
All right, that passes 8-0. Next item, please.
Item 52 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located at 704 West 28th Street from the RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential Suburban District to the RT1 Single Family Residential Traditional District, number 16752, 2022, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval 4-0. Private applicants, Sayer Associates, Jeff Bolt.
The applicant here is Jeff Bolt. The owner is CCOG. It's located at 704 West 28th Street. It's about .07 acres in size. The purpose of this rezoning is CCOG's looking at moving a single-family home on this lot.
All right, anyone here from the public to speak on 52? Any questions for Jason tonight, council, on this? Okay, take a motion.
Move approval, sale.
Second, McCorris.
All right, motion by Sale, seconded by McCorris. Discussion? All right, hearing none, let's take a vote, please.
Councilmembers Nitzert,
Yes.
Selberg,
Yes.
Sale,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Baranco,
Yes.
Cole. Yes. Jensen.
Yes.
McCurris.
Yes.
That passes 8-0. Next item.
Item 53 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located at 1600 West 7th Street from the S1 General Institutional District to the RT1 Single Family Residential Traditional District, number 16753, 2022, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval 4-0. Private applicants is Sayer Associates, Jeff Bolt.
The applicant here is also Jeff Bolt. The owner is also CCOG. It's located at 1600 West 7th Street, just south of the Veterans Community Project property. It's .8 acres in size. The purpose of this rezoning is CCOG's looking at subdividing this lot into 3 lots and then moving 3 single-family houses on it.
All right, anyone from the public here to speak on 53? All right, council, any questions on this one?
Move approval.
Second call.
Motion by Selberg, seconded by Cole to approve this item. Discussion on that motion? All right, let's take a vote.
Councilmembers Nitzert,
Yes.
Selberg,
Yes.
Sale,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Baranco,
Yes.
Cole.
Yes.
Jensen.
Yes.
McCurris.
Yes.
All right, that one passes 8-0. Next item, please.
Item 54 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located north of Westbrook Drive and east of South Lana Drive from the AG Agricultural District to the RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential Suburban District, number 16786, 2022, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval 4-0. Private applicants Earhart Griffin and Associates, Damian Griebel.
The applicant here is Damian Grable. The owner is John Broke. It's located north of West 41st Street and west of South Ellis Road. It's about .042 acres in size. The purpose of this rezoning is they're looking at combining this little sliver with the property to the east and then construct a twin home on the lot.
Anyone from the public want to speak on 54 here tonight? All right, council, any questions on this?
Move approval, Nitzert.
Second call.
Motion by Nitzert, seconded by Cole. Any discussion here? All right, let's take a vote.
Councilmembers Nitzert,
Yes.
Selberg,
Yes.
Sale,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Baranco,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
McCurris.
Yes.
That passes 8-0. Next item.
Item 55 is a second reading. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located north of East Benson Road and east of I-229 from the AG Agriculture and I-1 Light Industrial Districts to the CN Conservation and I-1 Light Industrial Districts, number 16797, 2022, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval 4-0. Private applicant, Sioux Falls Development Foundation, Dean Dziedzic.
The applicant here and the owner is Sioux Falls Development Foundation. It's located north of East Benson Road and east of I-229. It's roughly 62.6 acres in size. The purpose of this rezoning is to construct the new Army National Guard training facility and then have some associated drainage areas.
All right, thanks, Jason. Anyone from the public wish to speak on item 55 here? Council, questions on this one?
Move approval.
Second call.
Motion by Selberg, seconded by Cole to approve 55. Discussion on that. All right, let's take a vote, please.
Councilmembers Nitzert,
Yes.
Selberg,
Yes.
Sale,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Baranco,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
McCurris.
Yes.
All right, that one's going to pass 8-0. Next item.
Item 56 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located at 4101 South Ellis Road from the AG Agricultural District to the RS Single Family Residential Suburban, RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential Suburban, and the LW Live Work Districts number 16807-2022, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval 4-0. Private applicants, Willardson Lund Engineering Corps, Eric Willardson.
The applicant here is Eric Wilson. The owner is Mike Lammers. It's located south of West 41st Street and west of South Ellis Road. It's about 48 acres in size. The purpose of this rezoning is the applicant is looking to construct a future single-family, twin home, townhome, and multifamily residential development.
All right, thank you, sir. Anyone from the public here to speak on 56 tonight? Questions on this one, council? Councilor Neitzer?
Related to my last statement, do you know what they might propose to do on the live work right now? Or is that,
They don't know at this time. I would assume it's going to be an apartment of some sort is what I would envision.
okay. And just to add a little color to what I stated, I mean, over the years, I've taken some bullets supporting apartments when it needed to be, but we've run into some issues sometimes where, by nobody's fault, one owner may say, we're going to do offices, and people take that assurance, and then down the road it turns into a 3-story apartment, which is a pretty significant change. So I just want to be sensitive to that, and this is a new development, but there's always some of those issues where we don't want to end up with people feeling like they got the bait and switch, and it just never goes well. So thank you.
All right, other questions for Jason on this item? All right, look for a motion then.
So move, Cole.
Second, Jensen.
All right, motion to approve by Cole, seconded by Jensen. Discussion on the motion? All right, let's vote, please.
Councilmembers Nitzert,
Yes.
Selberg.
Yes.
Sale.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Baranco.
Yes.
Cole.
Yes.
Jensen.
Yes.
McCurris.
Yes.
All right, that passes 8-0. Next item.
Item 65 is a resolution of the City of Sioux Falls approving the preliminary plan of Lammers Edition 16801-2022. Private applicants, Willardson Lund Engineering Corps, Eric Willardson. Moved by amendment.
This is the preliminary subdivision plan that goes along with the rezoning that we just heard. The applicants are the same, Eric Willardson, and the owner's Mike Lammers. It's at 48 acres, and it's proposed for a single-family, twin-home, townhome, and a multifamily residential development.
All right. Anyone from the public here to speak on item 65? Questions on this one, council? All right, take a motion.
Second, Cole.
Motion by Selberg, seconded by Cole to approve 65. Discussion there. All right, let's vote on it.
Councilmembers Nitzert,
Yes.
Selberg.
Yes.
Sale.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Baranco.
Yes.
Cole.
Yes.
Jensen.
Yes.
McCurris.
Yes.
That passes 8-0. Item 57.
Item 57 is a second reading and ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located south of East 69th Street and west of South Tanner Avenue from the RS Single Family Residential Suburban District to the RD2 Townhome Residential Suburban District number 16813-2022, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval 4-0. Private applicants is Springdale LLC, Blake Hyde.
The applicant and owner here is Empire Homes. It's located south of East 69th Street and west of Southeastern Avenue, just west of the new Harrisburg Middle School. It's about 16.4 acres in size. The purpose of this rezoning is the applicant is looking at to continue to construct some townhome residential developments west of the school.
All right, thanks, Jason. Anyone from the public here to speak on 57? Council got questions on this one? All right, take a motion.
Move approval, Jensen.
Second, Sale.
Motion by Jensen, seconded by Sale to approve. Any discussion on that? All right, let's vote on it.
Councilmember Nitzert,
Yes.
Selberg.
Yes.
Sale.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Baranco.
Yes.
Cole.
Yes.
Jensen.
Yep.
McCurris.
Yes.
All right, that's going to pass 8-0. Next item.
Next item, 58, is a first reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota approving a permanent easement. Recommendation set a date of second reading for Tuesday, September 13th, 2022. Sponsor is the mayor.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Mike Patton with Parks and Recreation. This is a permanent easement request by Northern States Power to extend their service from its existing location into the east, into the Steel District, ultimately making a loop for their service and be used to power the Steel District as well as the downtown River Greenway, potentially future phases of Falls Park development. The existing utility is located in an easement that spans just the edge of park property near the, no mouse, but in the old Parks Office parking lot, and then extends north along Phillips Avenue through the park. The easement request matches the language of a previous easement approved by a city attorney's office, and Northern States Power will be responsible for installation of the line, as well as any restoration of the site. So, also, Park Board made recommendation of approval at the August meeting on the 17th. With that, I can try to answer any questions you have.
All right, thanks, Mike. Anyone here to speak on item 58 tonight? Good evening.
Good evening, Chester DeYoung. After being a utility contractor for 35 years in the city of Sioux Falls, putting a loop in here would be a great idea. It reduces the length of your outages. The thing is, anytime you put a loop in, you're trying to have an alternative feed. And the city gets a lot of those in the town where they'll have an alternative feed to something. And those alternative feeds are really critical. And it's when the city has those alternative feeds in their easement, it's vital that they maintain their own easement records. Don't be giving them away. I have no problem with this easement. I think it's a great deal for the city. But I think that once the city has this easement in there, they got to watch what they're doing, and so that they don't mess up and give it away. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else here to speak on item 58? All right. Council, got any questions for Mike on this one? All right, take a motion. That would be to set a date of second reading for Tuesday, September 13 on this one.
So move, Jensen.
Second, Sale.
All right, motion by Jensen, seconded by Sale. Any discussion on that? All right, let's vote on it, please.
Council members Nitzert,
Yes.
Selberg, Sale,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Baranco,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
McCurris.
Yes.
All right, that's going to pass 8-0. Move on to item 59.
Item 59 is a first reading. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, providing appropriations authorizing increase in property tax revenue pursuant to SDCL 101335 and the means of financing for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2023. Recommendation, set a date of second reading for Tuesday, September 13th, 2022. Sponsor is the mayor.
Sean, good evening.
Good evening. Sean Pritchett, Director of Finance. It's my pleasure to come before you as we wind down and work toward the final adoption of the 2023 budget for the City of Sioux Falls. As we talked about when we got started here several months ago before budget hearings, there are a couple of documents that you will take action on next week related to the budget, which covers a number of areas. The first one, which we have first reading for tonight, is the appropriations. So this is the $384.3 million appropriation of the tax-supported departments and funds, which would move to second reading and final action next week. The second item that you would be taking action on is the 2023 budget overall, which totals $646.2 million, which includes both the tax appropriated funds as well as the non-tax appropriated funds, like our enterprise funds and so forth. Part of that budget resolution, you would also be taking action on the new 5-year capital program, so the plan for the expenditures of capital funds for the city in the amount of approximately $931 million over the course of the next 5 years. While we budget for 1 year and approve a 5-year capital program, we're always looking out 10 to 20 years overall and making sure that our models ensure that we maintain a robust, stable, sustainable financial condition as we have always in the past. Part of our capacity to manage in changing economic circumstances has been having a sufficient reserve to smooth out and absorb temporary and transitory economic changes as they occur. We maintain this policy requirement of 25%, and current estimates project that we'll continue to maintain that through 2032 based on our conservative models. It's always a balance for us between maintaining appropriate reserves while not holding too much funds aside and not investing those funds appropriately to meet our current needs. And this budget works to make that happen. Maintaining a strong city and providing excellent services takes people. Over the past several decades, we have continued to reduce the number of city employees relative to our population growth. And we've done this through efficiencies, through partnerships, and through innovation. In 2015, you can see we had 69 employees per 1,000 city residents, and in 2023, we're projecting, similar to 2022, that we would maintain at 65 per 1,000, which is down significantly from where we were 20 and 30 years ago. It is important, however, as our city grows, and with that rapid growth that we've seen recently, that our personnel changes to reflect that, and to also maintain the services and the high expectations our community has for services from their city. Over the last 20 years, we've generally seen a slow decline over our sales tax growth. If you look at it on a 10-year rolling basis, we have seen a general and temporary uptick here in the recent years, and whether that will continue going forward is yet to be seen. But we do continue to use conservative 4% sales tax growth models as we look forward for our financial projections. This is consistent with what we've had over the last 10 years and how we have budgeted over the last several years as well. If you take a look at this model, based on our current sales tax revenues, one might argue that 4% might even be too conservative. But we also live by the fact that we would rather program funding we did not expect than reduce expenses from revenues we did not receive. You can also see from this chart that we have weathered a number of economic downturns in the past 30 years, including a dot-com bubble, a global financial crisis, and most recently, COVID-19. But we have done so, and we have adapted, remained flexible, and we have emerged as a stronger community and a stronger city. As we look at what our projections were based on for this budget cycle, we took a look at where we ended up for 2021. We had originally estimated 2022's budget at a 4%. We have reset that for 8% when we based off of 23 with a 4% increase from that point. So I would say this, if we did not grow our sales taxes month over month from September through December of this year, if we just grew a 0% rate, we will have already achieved an 8% increase over last year, where we currently sit. So any increase that we take in the final remaining portion of this year will continue to help kind of lean into what our projections are for next year. So if we do have some certain or sudden economic changes, we do have the capacity to adapt to some of that, and that was kind of the intent when we built a fairly conservative reset for 2022. When we talk about the inflation component, we discussed the property tax revenues, and that is part of this appropriation, is certifying what our property tax levy will be for the city. We have two portions of that. We have the growth portion, which is the portion just dealing with the growth of our community, and then there is the CPI portion, which is estimated at 3% for 2023, which is the max that's allowed. You can take the CPI adjustment up until 3%, and then it's capped. That's to protect homeowners and property owners from seeing too much of an inflation or increase relative to their property taxes. When we talk about property taxes, it is important to point out, because I think people don't necessarily understand what their property taxes are paying for when it comes to the community, because they are not used for capital expenses, they're not used for buildings or for building new roads or things of that nature. Property taxes pay for operating expenses, filling potholes, clearing streets of snow, public safety salaries, mowing parks, libraries, etc. So those basic operating expenses that people expect from their city. Postponing or deferring this inflationary increase will have a dramatic impact for both 2023 and future years, because a one-time of not taking the CPI will have impact every single year as we look outwards. So $2.2 million decrease in 1 year becomes a $25 million increase over the next 10 years because we don't get that back. If a CPI component was not included as part of the budget, it would require an equal amount of reduction of ongoing expenses. Not one-time expenses, not one time to reserve, but ongoing expenses, because you have to be able to cut back for the amount that was being cut in terms of total revenues. As a city, we have taken the CPI adjustment every year, and we do so to maintain our financial integrity. The impact of the homeowner is about $2 per month for about a home of about $200,000 in tax assessed value. So it gives you kind of an indication of what the impact is to the individuals within our residents in our community. As you can see, as we look at that blue bar there, that is our reserve projection going into 2032, the 25% reserve requirement, and the impact on the reserve by 1 year not accepting the CPI adjustment. I will also note that this council last year brought forward a change in which they were looking to assist people that were on fixed incomes, elderly, as well as the disabled, with very targeted relief in terms of property tax to those that are most impacted. So next week, there'll be another resolution brought forward to continue that program. That is something that is funded as part of the budget that was brought forward, assuming that that program would continue going forward. As we discussed in the initial budget presentation, this budget has focused specifically on 3 key areas: a commitment to public service, maintaining an investable city in response to a growing community, and focusing on kids and families, because we know when we focus on kids and families that the community at large is also gaining from that. And we do that always with an eye toward fiscal stewardship, always looking over to make sure that we maintain financial responsibility for the community, our residents, and our taxpayers. In many aspects of what we do as a city, we are connected. Many of the challenges that we face, whether it's accessible housing or crime or homelessness, we're interconnected. We rely on many other entities outside of the city, whether it's the county, the state, federal policies, private market policies. We're interconnected. So we make a difference in what we can in the sphere of influence that we have, but we rely upon relationships, partnerships, communication in order to help steer strategy and policy to a way that impacts our community. In many ways, our city is constructed the same way. Our city departments and our personnel are all interconnected. The success of one department impacts all of our departments, and we are only as strong as our weakest link in terms of our support services and how our departments work together. The way Public Works works with planning, the way that Parks works with libraries, the way our support systems in terms of HR and finance and IT all support our various departments. Having a strong public safety system requires that we have a sound financial system that allocates resources quickly, that we have a purchasing department that's able to make purchases for them for the equipment and so forth that they need, which is becoming more challenging lately, given the things that we see in the market. We have to have a strong public works department so they can help build the public safety training facility. And we need a strong and robust human resources department so that we can hire, train, and retain the employees and officers and fire personnel and parks and rec personnel that we need to continue providing the excellent services that we do in our community. This budget recognizes this interdependence, and it invests in personnel across the city, all of which are interrelated to one another. And what I like about this picture is that it kind of graphically depicts the many different and myriad things that we do as a city, but how interconnected they are with one another. There are a number of missteps that municipal governments can make, either through poor planning, bad systems, or an inability to allocate resources appropriately. I think a great example of this is something you may have seen in the news related to Jackson, Mississippi, where they have a water system that had been failing for years, and in 21, due to a harsh winter storm, took the system offline for a month to the point where they could not have accessible water in the community. They were boiling water, high water bills, and it was not always safe to drink. The recent flooding that occurred in that area took the treatment plant and it failed completely, leaving the city residents without water to drink, bathe, or even flush toilets. The entire city, which is about 150,000, so not uncomparable to the city of Sioux Falls, was without safe drinking water with no end in sight. And many residents here say they adapted long ago to what they call catastrophic government failure. A lot of what we do as a city is building and we maintain infrastructure, roads, utilities, etc. But we are more than a city of just infrastructure. We are a city that is made up of people, dedicated, passionate, innovative, invested. Those individuals will be the ones that run, maintain, and anticipate the needs of the city. They will determine the success of our city as they do and plan and work as part of their public service. As you see from earlier presentations, 41% of our personnel is dedicated to public safety. Another 25% is dedicated strictly to infrastructure, enterprise utilities, highways and streets. We have our parks and recreation system, planning and public health, and then finally, our support system, each working together collectively for one Sioux Falls. I'll give you a good example of this. Early literacy has a big impact on where children end up in their lifetimes, right? So the linkage, according to the Department of Justice, between academic failure and delinquency, violence, and crime is welded to reading failure. Over 70% of our inmates in America's prisons cannot read above a 4th grade level. There are many statistics that drive the importance of literacy to crime, which is why this budget invests in early literacy with the library system, because we're investing in long-term for this community. This council last year amended into the budget a skateboard park into the 2023 capital program, which will now be in the 23 capital budget. And I'm pretty sure it wasn't because you all planned to use the skateboard park. But I think you saw, as many do, that this was an asset that could benefit the community in the long term. Some place for kids that may not have other places to go would go to feel a sense of belonging or part of their community and make a difference in how they would grow up, their educational attainment, and whether they would take on other negative aspects in their lives. And that was a commitment that this council made last year and continues to be funded as part of this budget. So everything is a balance. We often focus on reacting to what is, but we also have to balance that with investing in things for what they can be. And this budget makes movement on that. I leave with this standpoint, and that's to give perspective. And we talked about this when we came into the budget as well. And it kind of goes back to the story of Mississippi. When people may feel uncertain about many aspects of their lives, they should not have to be concerned that their city is well managed or can provide the basic services that they have come to expect. Economic changes, downturns, they are transitory and they are temporary. Inflation, shortages, supply shortages, they will course correct themselves. There will be consistency in services from the City of Sioux Falls, and we will remain committed to sound financial decisions. We maintain appropriate reserves in order to do so, and we're always looking ahead to anticipate what's next. We take a balanced and a strategic approach while maintaining the capacity to adapt, being prepared and strategic. Not every community has this luxury, but we do here. We stay positive, and when others will pull back, we have the opportunity and the responsibility to lean forward and model confidence in our community. Lastly, I want to thank this council for your thoughtful consideration of this budget and all the discussions that we've had over the last several weeks. There have been a lot of discussions, a lot of one-on-one meetings, a lot of hearings, work sessions, and so forth. And I want to thank the staff, the finance staff, who are second to none, and the staff from across the city who have been involved in the development of this budget. It's more than just numbers, but it's a roadmap of what our values are as a community and what we choose and where we choose to invest and continue to make our community a success and a better place to live. And that's why it takes over 9 months to develop each and every year. This budget is balanced in a responsible way, continues to invest prudently across a wide array of services and projects, all in an effort to build Sioux Falls as an investable city that puts kids and families first and led by talented city employees dedicated to public service. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. We also have a number of our department directors here and available to answer any last questions we have before we move to final action next week.
All right, Sean, thank you. So I know there's a lot of people here tonight who have thoughts or comments on the budget, which is great. Kind of as a point of order, I'm going to look at Tom and maybe Tamara. Our next item is a public hearing, basically, on the budget, the resolution. So do we take public input on the budget at both of those items, or is there kind of what we do? Okay. So if you're here to speak on the budget, we'll take any public input right now. So how we'll do this is, again, you get 3 minutes per person. If you're new here, there's a timer right in front that helps guide your conversation. Come on up, young man, and then we'll just, as they are done, the next person can come on up and we'll keep going. So come on up, yeah. Just state your name before you start your remarks.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Tenhaken and City Council. My name is Jeff Mersch. I'm the president of Falzeri Bicyclists. We're a nonprofit organization that advocates and promotes for fun, safe bicycling in this great city of ours. And then we also promote and really advocate for active transportation within our city. So along with that, first of all, we want to thank you for the activities that you guys do have in Sioux Falls. What you've done with Fast and the single track, what you've done with the Sioux Falls BMX, kayaking, skate parks. We have a lot of activities, and it's awesome. As a citizen, it's great. But the question is, how do we get there? I want to ride my bike to get there. So that's one of the things we kind of wanted to talk about. And if you all received the letter that we sent out to you, we had about 200 signatures on that. That basically asks, can we look into active transportation a little bit more to make it safe for us who ride bicycles to get to these activities? So we have a lot of people. If I just get a show of hands of who does active transportation around here. So we do have a lot of people that want to do something else than drive their car around Sioux Falls. So we'll have those testimonials that come up. I just wanted to come up and just say thank you for your support and what you do already as a city council. And then I'll let everybody else kind of talk about their own experiences and their passion of why they want this active transportation.
All right, Jeff, thanks, man. Anyone else for public input? Come on up. Good evening.
Good evening. Hello, my name is Jim Brzezinski. I've met some of you previously. I ran for city council, so gotten to know a few of you in the past, so I appreciate your time tonight. So the reason I'm here is first to ask you a question. How many of you have ever ridden your bike down to City Hall for this meeting? Would you feel safe doing so? Would you feel safe letting your children do the same? Do you feel safe letting your children ride their bike even to school? I'm guessing that a good chunk of you, the answer is no. And that becomes apparent for why we need to make an amendment to the current capital plan to make a priority to have some form of investment in active transportation. So most people in the city simply just don't feel safe. They don't feel it's a true option for them. When gas prices spiked, people said, oh, I have no other choice but to pay this gas bill. Well, that's not really true. They could have done other things. They could have biked, they could have walked, they could have done anything, but they didn't feel safe doing so, so they didn't. That's a deficiency in our city right now. The people who do use bikes are mothers, fathers, children. They matter, and they don't always have a voice. Not everyone who needs to use a bike has the time to come to these types of events, down to City Hall. One such person is my friend's husband. He can't be here today. He can't be here today because he's in the hospital. He was hit by a car and he's in a coma. That is a direct result of poor planning and poor investment on this city for the lack of safe infrastructure for cycling. I know many of you have families. I know many of you care deeply about this city. And that's why I'm asking for your support today and to amend our current plan to make a dedicated investment in active transportation such as cycling. What if it was your child or spouse that was in a coma instead? What would you have done what would you wish you could have done to make the city safer? We need you to be bold. People in the city need your help. The national statistics on this are absolutely clear. People are dying. The rates of people not in a car that die rise every single year. That is why it is essential for the city to make investments in this. Today, I'm asking you to make a bold statement. I'm asking you to make a stand against the status quo. Make investments in things like the 15th Street Boulevard that will allow people to get around safely. I'm asking for you to support the investments like this in our city to make it safer, improve the well-being of its citizens in order so they can get around. I'm asking you to invest in preventing the next death in this city of a father, a mother, a child.
Thanks, Jim.
Please stand with FAB and the citizens as we ask for your support.
Thank you. Anyone else for public input? Come on up. Good evening.
No.
I'm Jacqueline Franken. I'm a member of the Falls Area Cyclists, and I just kind of want to reiterate a little bit more on that safety and going forward about visibility as being a cyclist in this community. So the average car width, we're seeing about 4 to 5 feet in length, about 14, where we'd have about a height of a cyclist that's going to be about 6.5 feet, so much tall. Setting on a standard bike that's lower to their hip design level, it's only going to be about 8 feet maybe clearance, and that's not including the width. Why I reiterate the height is because while part of our protocol, our visibility that hinders some of our motorists and drivers is really just that lack of foresight. We're small on the road, but we are all equal. And it feels unequal and unsafe and practicing in safe cycling down into certain intersections. We are so grateful to the Sioux Falls area bicyclist community, to this committee, and the infrastructure and some of the things that you've put forward already. But we'd like to see more of the infrastructure support, some more visual aids, some clear lane designations, some more of the sparrows that are implemented. This is going to help also too with some low visibility, which we see as South Dakotans with weather deterrent, and high visibility times as well. Thinking about more of times of day of rush hour traffic, either early morning. So these are sometimes too safer for drivers or riders to be in, en route to their work or recreation. But we also want to consider too that those are also high traffic points and stressful in designations and intersections. Seeing that a lot of collisions do occur at slower points entering intersections of under 15 miles per hour, I'd like to reiterate that if a cyclist even is wearing protective healthcare methods, that it's still going to hinder, as we kind of talked about before, severe head trauma or severe injury. I just want to point out that I know that we have a texting and law in place with some of the motorists, but when we go to a lower speed, that actually gives some drivers the confidence to actually engage with their cell phones and lowering their vision. And as I pointed out before, we are small, but we are still right there in front of you. So even at lower depths, we are still on the road beside you. So please continue to support us and see if some of this budgeting can go towards more of our visual aids and infrastructure. Thank you again so much for your time, committee.
All right, thank you. Come on up, sir. You were coming. Come on up. Yep. First come, first served. So just hop on up when you be next, Ian.
Adam Hoffinga, Sioux Falls. I'm here tonight to ask the council for more funding for bicycle infrastructure in our city. I'd like you all to imagine how much better life would be for parents in this city if their kids rode their bikes to school. Most kids don't ride their bikes to school. They're driven to school by their parents. I've seen this process in action. Every morning, I drive by the intersection of 69th Street and Cliff Avenue, where traffic is backed up a quarter of a mile in every direction as parents line up their cars to drop off their kids one by one in front of the Sioux Falls Christian School. It's a very slow process. It doesn't have to be this way. Kids could ride their bikes to school instead. But there's a reason kids don't ride their bikes to school. Kids don't bike to school because it's not safe. It's not safe because we haven't invested in the infrastructure to make it safe. We've designed our streets for car and truck traffic and nothing else. Biking is a complete afterthought. Let me ask you this. Would you let your 10-year-old ride their bike to school? If your answer is no, then the bicycle infrastructure we've built in this city needs improvement. We need to invest in safe pathways for kids on bikes to get from where they live to where they go to school. If we build better bicycle infrastructure and we make it safe, more kids will bike to school. And if more kids bike to school, fewer parents will have to waste their mornings and afternoons shuttling their kids around town in their cars. As a bonus, fewer parents driving cars to school means that parents who do choose to drive their kids, they will have to fight less car traffic to get to the school. It's a win for everyone. Getting more kids to bike to school by building better infrastructure will save parents time, fuel, and stress. Please, let's get more funding for bicycle infrastructure in Sioux Falls and build a better city for the parents. I'd like to close by thanking Councilor Greg Neitzer for his leadership on this issue. Thank you and good night.
All right, thank you. Come on up, sir.
Hi, Luke Bodine. I moved here 5 years ago from Des Moines, and one of the first things I did was pull up the master bicycle plan that was written in 2015. I think we need to, start there, make sure that's budgeted, prioritized. It's already prioritized. Follow that, and look at some cities like Des Moines, Madison, Wisconsin, Austin, Texas. What do they spend on bicycles or bicycle infrastructure, and making sure that we're sort of aligned, because I've traveled to those cities, I've lived in those cities, and they're amazing, and I want this city to be that. So, thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Come on up, man. How are you?
Good, you?
Good.
Hello, I'm Garrison, and I've worked at Burger King for about 5 years. And I'm not allowed to take Highway 38 because it's busy going east of Walmart, and especially where that bridge is, where I-29 is. So instead, I'm not going to say where I live exactly, but I end up going north and then turning right on an intersection, going north instead of south. That's just south of Crooks. And while I don't mind going 3 miles out of my way, if that's for one way or 6 for both, probably would be nice if there was like a bike trail or at least a bike lane where Highway 38 is, if possible. To where it's, especially when it's extremely hot or a little on the cold side, where I might decide not to ride 9 miles, where 6 would be a little easier. Or if I get off and it's getting close to sunset. So if possible, would there be one that would get built at some time in that vicinity?
Well,
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your input, man. Yeah. Good evening.
Hello, my name is Ian Grove. I want to thank you guys for all the time and money that you put into cycling culture here in Sioux Falls. It's really awesome. It's getting better and better. So I'm here tonight not to talk about recreation, hobbies, or fitness or anything like that, but rather I think that we're in a position now as a city where we can actually develop a cycling infrastructure that serves citizens who use bike as a primary source of transportation. I'm talking about the working poor and under-resourced people. They use bikes all year long to get where they need to go to survive and to maintain their lives. Last year, the Center for Hope gave away 600 bikes. That's a lot of bikes, and many of those people use bikes all year long to get to where they need to go to get what they need. Under-resourced people are often slaves to intermittent public transportation, or they're forced, sadly, to walk along what can be dangerous roadways to get to grocery stores, hospitals, make their appointments and get to work. So I have a few suggestions. First, focus on connectivity when it comes to cycling infrastructure. Cycling infrastructure should be sensical, right? On a practical level, it should be able to get people to places that are important for their survival. That means connecting all public feeding centers, for one thing, like the Banquet and Union Gospel Mission. Thousands of meals are served there every single week, thousands of meals. And that's always there for the city in times of emergency. There should be dedicated bike lanes there, connecting it to the bike path. Also, connecting larger grocery stores in high-density areas to the bike path so people can get to and from them safely, like Sunshine Foods on 2nd would be a great place for that. And also means connecting public health providers to the bike system as well, hospitals and clinics. So cycling infrastructure connectivity for those who need it most can come about by allocating dedicated bike and pedestrian lanes. Lanes that use safety barriers, right? Clearly demarcated barriers. Also, lanes that use traffic calming devices, reduce motorist speeds in the designated areas and lanes that use clearly marked signage as well. So these measures can simultaneously increase business, increase foot traffic, and also be safe for people who need to get to where they need to get and take care of themselves, who use cycling as a primary source of transportation all year long. Thanks again, guys. I appreciate your input and all your help with active transportation.
All right, thanks, Ian. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. I'm Michael Christensen, a former president of Falzeri Bicyclists, as well as a former cycling instructor for the League of American Bicyclists, the largest membership in the United States of bicyclists. As a cycling instructor, I stood in front of every one of your police officers and described what safe cycling looks like. I have stood in front of every one of your bus drivers, that was a lively bunch, and described to them what safe cycling looks like. And I would have said some of these things. Our mantra for League Cycling Instructor is bicyclists fare best when they act like and are treated like drivers of other vehicles. State law supports that, as bicycles are defined explicitly as vehicles in state law, and your city ordinances support that too. But we don't see a lot of on-street riding, and I don't see a lot of support for on-street riding. So I also would have said then the following things about riding on sidewalks, which is where a lot of us think there's more comfort. Legally, riding on sidewalks is a bad idea and terribly inefficient. State law, city ordinance requires that every bicyclist at an intersection before entering a crosswalk must stop and yield to all traffic in that intersection. Therefore, any contact between a vehicle and a bicycle in that intersection starts at being the bicyclist's fault for failure to yield. And then if you've ever seen somebody practice that, does anybody practice that, stopping at every block? Probably they didn't know the law that required them to stop. So their parents are surprised when the driver isn't cited. The parents are surprised when it's the bicyclist's fault. Also, riding on the sidewalk is dangerous, particularly riding on sidewalk facing traffic. That rider is vulnerable to the right turning but left looking driver. A driver looking for their spot in traffic and then will press the gas before they look to the right. From Mike Sieverding at 28th Minnesota, long time ago, to Dale Kimpton at 41st and Empire Place, all those fatalities from those two people, if it wasn't an impaired driver, it was a right-turning, left-looking driver running over a sidewalk-riding bicyclist facing traffic. I and some others a couple years ago studied 2015 and 2016 traffic reports for collisions, and 42% of all those car and bike traffic collisions were that situation of the right-turning, left-looking driver.
Thanks, Mike. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Christopher Cable Cheval. My son Ian, he wanted to stand here, so
Hey, buddy.
he might jump in. Thank you, council members. Appreciate it. I know I'm going to get chewed out by some of my fellow members here, but really thank you for what you do for the city. It is amazing. It's one of the reasons why I just moved here, and we love cycling. Okay, it's not your fault about all the cars and all that. It's all of our faults because we were brought up that way. It's all about the cars. This is built for the cars. That's built for the cars. It's built for traffic. We always have to think 10 years in advance. All I'm asking is we reshift or downshift, start thinking about other forms of transportation. As was said, a lot of people need bikes to get to work. They can't afford cars. You can get more workers. Wow, everybody's screaming for workers. You can get more workers who can ride bikes, who can fill those jobs. They can't afford the cars to get there. I'm going to bulletize this for you really quick. The Walton Foundation spent $70 million rebuilding their infrastructure in Bentonville for bikes. and what pedestrians and so on and so forth. They did an impact study, and lo and behold, those poor people are now suffering at 137 million coming in every year because of that 70 million one time they invested. They keep it up. They have a staff. Some of the countries have staffs as big as this to take care of the road structures for bikes, so on and so forth. They have AutoCAD. They have people going out and testing the roads all the time. There's AutoLoo in Europe too that also has it where cars and people share the road, but it's more for the cars. E-bikes, electric bikes, especially for seniors. The reason why people aren't out in the wintertime, they say, including seniors, is because of the safety. It's not because of the cold. You go around in Europe and they're out there, the kids, 77% of the school kids ride every day to school. And they toss their bikes every place to have a good time and do it, and no problem. Seniors are out there, absolutely no problem. So it's about, I hate to say it, shifting our thinking to more towards this type of transportation for everybody concerned. Adults, a lot of people who can't get around, who can use e-bikes, et cetera, et cetera. So there's, Bentonville even will sponsor people coming, not pay for it, but will sponsor people coming down and showing us how to do it. And we deserve it. I mean, all of us here deserve this. And I think it's just absolutely wonderful what you folks have done. And let's just jack it up. And this way we don't have to worry about hearing about budgets and money that we don't have any money to take in, because we can get it in from bringing in sponsors, because no one else is doing this. Let us be the ones that draw in the crowds from all the states all around us to bring in people to do these types of things on these trails. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ian, you got anything to say? No.
Hi.
Good evening.
Hey, my name is Jordan Deffenbaugh. I'm with Strongtown Sioux Falls, the BAM Institute, and I also, today is my first day of school. I'm teaching that school. I'm not going to school, but I just wanted to say I brought some textbooks with me. Oh. These right here are a little book called Making Massive Small Change. I had the opportunity to speak with the author, Kelvin Campbell. He is an urban developer out of the UK. He's worked on master plans all over the world for the past 30 years. And in this text, he breaks down how we can approach city building, but not in a way like we are maybe used to. In that conversation, he said to me, 97% of all master plans don't happen. That's because oftentimes we bulk up all these decisions at one point, and then we have to deploy them throughout the year, or 5 years, or 10 years, or 20 years, and they don't happen. He advocates for strategies. He advocates for small-scale solutions that are deployed at a localized level, at a neighborhood level. He has a really great quote from D. Hock, right here. Simple rules give rise to complex and intelligent behavior. Complex rules give rise to simple and stupid behavior. So, what he advocates in this text, which by the way, each of you are welcome to take one home. I even have little library cards for when you want to return them. I'll come back at some point to pick them up. But the point is, with giving you this text, it's really tons of anecdotes, texts, strategies, ways of philosophies of thinking for city building, and how the history of city building came about. I want to give you this to explore how we can do small-scale things, how we could give a budget of however many thousands of dollars, I don't know what it is. If it could be literally just a big truck of paint that I can think of a number of people in this room that would be very willing to deploy small-scale projects, to actually try some of these prototypes. So what I ask is, I'm in full support of the Falls area bicyclists. I'm in full support of the increase in bike spending and walkability spending. What I'm saying is, let's look at the strategy of how we spend that money. How can we get direct access to those funds to the people who care about it most? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else for public input on this item? Come on up. Come on up, sir. Good evening.
Hi, I'm Andrew Carlson. I live in the All Saints area.
I just want to say I'm also in support of the bike infrastructure and active transportation that's being advocated for by the Falls area bicyclists. And to just kind of reiterate the points that, like a lot of the people who have been speaking tonight, like we're like relatively young. I think we like to bike, and so we will usually find a way to do it, even if the infrastructure is not necessarily built for it. And so the point of this is more for increasing accessibility. Like we have a lot of nice bike trails and greenways in the city. Oftentimes it's not easy to get from a residence to those bike trails without having to interact with some really heavy traffic, which not everyone is comfortable with. I think it's important that we try to connect our bike infrastructure to some meaningful locations like residences, to stores and schools and libraries. That it was mentioned earlier, there's an investment in our libraries for early literacy. At the same time, we need to invest in ways for kids to get to the libraries. Like the downtown library, for example, it has bike racks out front, but it's also surrounded by rather wide roads on all sides, which aren't really safe and comfortable to ride in, and you're also not supposed to ride on the sidewalk, so it's a little awkward, just as an example. I'd also like to point out that bike infrastructure can be a relatively inexpensive way to add additional traffic capacity without taking up a lot of additional space, which I think is going to be important for Sioux Falls since we do plan on continuing to grow, and we're already reaching a point where we don't really have space to widen a lot of our major throughways through town, and adding additional bike infrastructure that connects people from their homes to their destinations in a way that's intuitive will allow us to add that additional transportation capacity that we need, while also giving people additional options for how they get from point A to point B. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Andrew. Anyone else here to speak on this item? Come on up. Good evening.
Well, good day. Melissa McCauley. How are you guys all doing?
Great.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to us all. It's an important topic for all of us. I've heard everybody. I waited to kind of go last because here's the thing. Take a look around the room. Not all of us look the same. Not all of us ride for the same reason, but we all ride. The bike path is an amazing, and we are so grateful to have that. The 15th Boulevard that's going on there is going to be so huge for people in Sioux Falls as far as transportation and the infrastructure of biking. If we can continue that kind of movement forward in our community, and Mayor Paul, I'm going to kind of blame you here because the 100 Days of Fitness got everybody out and about, needing to bike, needing to do that, and now they're seeing the benefit of that. We need to embrace that, because we want to be a healthy city, we want to grow, and I've heard many of you guys on your platforms all say that is what your end-all goal is to get people out there, to get them involved, to get them healthy. This is how we do it. Including the infrastructure in the budget is only going to be a positive impact on the city of Sioux Falls. You guys already know that. It's just a matter of getting it through. So thank you for your time.
All right, thanks, Melissa. Anyone else to speak on the budget here? Come on up. Good evening, sir.
Hello, I'm Art Holden. I am with Falls Area Bicyclists. I think I'm the last one, so I don't know for sure, but I think so. Anyway, I just want to first of all thank all of you guys who came out today because of active transportation. I appreciate it. Jeff and I appreciate it. Falls Area Bicyclists appreciate it. I'd like to thank all of you, Mayor Tenhaken, for the investments you are making in our bike trail and in the side paths and the new tunnels that are coming under I-229. That stuff is very appreciated. Now we just need to work on how do we get to those new areas, get to the bike trail, get to the new tunnels. It's the on-street infrastructure that needs help, so we feel, bicyclists feel welcome and that they are not wanted there. So I encourage you, you've heard a lot of reasons for why this investment is important. Just encourage you to consider investing in active transportation. The Bicycle Boulevard is the example we've been using, but there are a lot of high priority items in the bicycle plan, the city's own bicycle plan, that go unfunded year after year after year. And then finally, I would just like to say thank you to Councilor Neitzert for his advice, his counsel, and just being able to walk us through how this whole budget thing works. So it was a little confusing, and we got off track a little bit, but I think we're in the right place now, and we're just, you know, happy for what's been going on, and just want to keep making Sioux Falls a better place for people to get around however they choose to get around. So thank you.
It's confusing to me too, Art, so thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Good evening, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Tamara Grove, and I'm sorry, he was supposed to be the last one, but I have something to say. I just wanted to say that from a small business perspective, from the economy, right? So according to TripAdvisor, it, you know, is going to list all the cool things to do in Sioux Falls. Falls Park is number 1, Sculpture Walk is number 2, St. Joseph Cathedral is number 3, and the Sioux Falls Bike Trails is number 4. And so as a doctor in business, my doctoral work was on small business and using an appreciative intelligence approach to handling issues, which means you can look at a negative thing and find a positive ending. But one of the things that I found in there is that what keeps an economy going on the right track in a community, it's small businesses. When a few years ago, when we had a whole lot of issues like we're having right now, corporations were shutting down or they were laying people off, but small businesses were hiring. And the vast majority of us, if we were to raise our hands, probably have worked for a small business or we own a small business. And so this directly impacts our community by bringing money into our small business owners, which means they can continue to hire. It also means that there are people who are probably going to come to Sioux Falls who might be younger or whatever, and they're going to say, I can't really afford to drive my car, but I can ride my bike, and I will ride my bike. And so it also has the potential for bringing in new people and keeping young people. So it's just an amazing thing to do all the way around. Thank you all for everything that you do.
Thanks, Tamara. All right, anyone else here to speak on item 59? Come on up. Good evening.
Hi, thank you so much. My name is Chelsea Pierce. I have a son that's turning 9 in 2 days, actually, and the reason I'm here is because of him. We came to Sioux Falls to live here specifically because it is such a great city. There are so many different opportunities for my son to experience different things. There are so many different restaurants. There's also so many free activities that we have. There are so many different parks. I love it. Unfortunately, we don't really connect those dots. And that was really highlighted to me recently. We recently changed schools for my son, and we're now about a mile away. And he was really excited because we were going to ride bike to and from school every morning. I was really excited because he was going to let out some energy and probably behave a little bit better in class. And we were going to get some exercise and maybe bond. I was looking forward to it as well. But we did some practice runs before school started. And we're just a little over a mile away. And it was awful. It was absolutely awful. No one stopped at crosswalks. If we did try to go onto the sidewalks, a lot of them are broken or just aren't there. There was not a safe passage for us to get to his school. There's just not. And most of the riding that we're doing is in neighborhoods. It's not over really busy streets. And even if the infrastructure is the way that it is and maybe drivers drove responsibly, it would have been all right, but that's just not the case. And I was with him, and I did not feel safe. So there's no way that I'm going to be having him do that, which is really unfortunate because I was also looking forward to him having more independence. I feel like it's really important for kids to be able to do some things on their own, to build their confidence, And, you know, I would like to see him be able to ride his bike to the park and play on his own without me having to go with him and escort him. You know, he could walk to school maybe, but I don't know any other parents here. Maybe you've gotten messages from the Sioux Falls School District that there have been several people trying to take kids while they're waiting for the bus or walking. I'm not comfortable with that as well. But I would really, really love to see us connect those dots. We have so many wonderful resources in Sioux Falls, and I would love for my son to be able to independently explore those and grow his confidence and be able to do those things on his own. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Chelsea. Other people here tonight to talk about item 59. Good evening.
Sioux Falls. Where do we start? So I'm going to tell you, we had, and maybe Chief, you know what, since we have a lot of people in here, we have some good directors. Erica Beck, Chima, Tum, HR director, who else? We got some other people in here, are good directors. We got a new mayor. That is way better than the previous mayor. I'm going to tell you that nowhere in Sioux Falls is safe. The incident that happened at that school, it happens. We have pedophiles and we have sex offenders. I mean, it's just something you got to deal
Can you
with.
tie it to the budget, though?
Yes,
Budget?
and so these cyclists need to understand and work with council members on doing the streets, those streets. You have broken down sidewalks, then you need to get a hold of the city and have those fixed. Because in my neighborhood, that's what I do, to get those fixed. We cannot be putting up any bike lanes or anything until roads and side curbs and gutters are fixed, especially in Whittier and Pettigrew neighborhood. Not the poor neighborhoods. I'm not talking about the rich wine drinking neighborhoods. Okay? So we cannot be putting bicyclist lanes in Pettigrew and through Whittier until we have the proper steps of that. I never heard one person talk about a cyclist with the police department. And the police department has cyclists there. So we don't have any input, and I'm sure they ain't gonna be able to come up here and tell you, the police. But we have police cyclists that patrol in areas too. And I'm sure that they're at risk too, and I'm sure they have some issues with bumps and sidewalks and this, that, the other, and they have some traffic issues as well. I'm not against the cyclists at all. And I think one of them reached out to me in Pettigrew. And I had told him in an email, in a message, that first we gotta get to our streets, and we have to get to our curbs and gutters before we do this, especially in Pettigrew. Okay, and I think that that's coming in next year or a year and a half with that. But we cannot be jumping from step 1 to step 10 here. The police are very busy, yes, they are, and I police my own neighborhood. So if people would get engaged and police their own neighborhood, testify in court against these criminals speeding or hitting people or whatever the case might be, and bring awareness to the neighborhood, we can bring awareness to people and these cyclists so they can be safe. But I'm going to tell you something right now. Sioux Falls is not safe. Anywhere it's not safe in the country. You don't let your kid go on a bicycle, 7 down the streets, down the block, I don't care if it's a Christian school or not, and have your kids go to school. It's just not safe. Parents need to come together with that.
All right, thank you. Other comments or public input tonight on item 59? All right, last call there. All right. Counselors, you have questions for Kellen, you want to come on up? Yeah, come on up. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Kellen Boyce. I'm with the Sioux Falls Arts Council, as also a representative on the Visual Arts Commission. I'm here to speak to the point in the budget of the arts coordinator position that is up on the budget this year. This is really needed in our community. As you know, we've got about $3.1 million invested in public art. This coordinator position would help make sure that those are managed and maintained as needed. Back in 2015, the Sioux Falls City Council adopted the Sioux Falls Imagine Plan. I'm not sure if any of you have actually looked at that. It's been a while, but within that plan, it has this great comprehensive plan on how to bring the arts and cultures, elevate that up in Sioux Falls. Part of that is coordinating the arts efforts that are happening. we're one organization. It's just me in the office, but we do tend to try to get to talk to the Nancys and the Darrens and everyone in the community, but we're not in City Hall or we're not in the city government to actually implement a lot of these things. So just here to say, if you're looking at that, that is a really important thing. I think there's a lot of us within the arts community that support that, and I believe we've all been sending you letters, and hopefully you guys move forward with that. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Kellen. All right, anyone else on 59? All right. Council, got questions for Sean or any director staff on this? We will have after this item, we do have, by the way, a public hearing for resolution of adopting the budget as well. And then we will have a second reading for you all in the audience. The way this works is then we'll read the budget. Second reading is next week when we formally adopt it. There will be amendments that will be introduced, changes to the budget and so forth. So any questions for the staff, council? All right. I look for a motion then to set a date of second reading for next Tuesday, September 19th.
So moved. Sale.
Second, Jensen.
All right, motion by Sale, seconded by Jensen. Any discussion there then? Councilor Bronco.
Yes, I'd like to say I have the highest respect for Director Pritchett and for the presentation he made tonight, as well as the very important agenda that he laid out, which I think is phenomenal for the city. But as things stand, and I know we still have some important discussions on the schedule, some important discussions planned to have more conversations. But as things stand right now, I'm not comfortable with the property tax increase. So I'm going to be voting no on agenda item 59 unless and until we can incorporate and find some innovative ideas and some positive methods to accomplish these great goals for the city, but at the same time respecting the fact that we have a lot of our working families really struggling with high inflation, and I'm not comfortable so far with a property tax increase.
All right, thank you. Other discussion? Councilor Starr?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to agree with my fellow councilor. Over the last this is my 7th budget that I've been here and part of, and I voted against every property tax increase. 3% doesn't sound like that much. Director Pritchett does a great job. We had this discussion at lunch the other day of saying it's just a little bit. I've been in sales and marketing my entire career. You break it down to the smallest part possible. But at the same time, 10 years from now, we're talking about $11 million tax increase on our citizens. The great part of this plan that unfortunately I probably have never been excited about by limiting property tax growth. I think if we weren't limited by state statute, we'd be looking at a CPI-U increase rather than 3%. I think we would have made a case that we needed the tax money. But here's the bottom line. As we show people tax increases and it only being a small part, we're taking that money out of the economy. We've all made the speech that it's important for people can use their money and their funds better than the government can. We spend a lot of time here as a city council talking about putting the city in a good financial shape. And it really doesn't take that much from the citizens. It's only a couple of bucks here and it's a Coke or a cup of coffee here. But again, when you look at the chart that Director Pritchett put out, we're talking about $11 and $12 million over the next 10 years that will be short, or the city will be short. No, it's the taxpayers who will be short of this money. And to support a tax increase at a time, no matter what the amount is, at a time where we're looking at our financial uncertainty, whether it's continued inflation, whether it's a recession coming, this council needs, as a policy statement, to put our foot down and say, we can live within our means. This is anything but a meat and potatoes budget. I think that was said not that long ago. This is everybody at the trough got fed. We have, $464 million for our community. And yeah, it's only a couple of million to cut out of the budget, and we could squeeze it out. The good thing the legislature did, and I don't usually talk about the good things the legislature does, and I should do it more often, But what they did is they said, hey, you don't have to take the inflationary increases every year, that if something happens in the future, you can do an opt-out. We've seen our school district do it. We've seen our county government do it. The city is blessed with a sales tax that continues to go up. We heard it's 8+%. Is that enough to keep up with the inflation the city's doing? Well, maybe we need to back out of some of these projects. Government should be spending in bad times, not in good times. And I would say in our city, we're in the middle of good times. And the city, we had a city employee not that long ago get up and say, we're competing with Habitat, we're competing with the other nonprofit groups to see who can get to that one parcel of land to move a house to. Well, you know what? We should get out of the way of those nonprofit groups, and the city shouldn't be competing with anyone for that property. And we shouldn't be competing to take more money away from our citizens. Whether it's a couple of bucks a month or 20 bucks a year, that turns into millions. And that's the problem with government sometimes, is we're really good at incrementalism. We move in small little paces, but all of a sudden 10 years down the road from now, we're looking at this and going, wow, that's real money. And the real money is coming from our taxpayers. So in my annual tradition next week, I will be bringing an amendment to withdraw to move the 3% inflationary adjustment out of the budget. And then we can either do it through cuts, or we can use our savings. We saw it in our, as we continue to grow our reserves. And it's just, when our reserves grow every year, we're taking more tax money than we can spend from our residents. It's not right to tax people in a way that we put the money in savings. It's just wrong. And there's no way I can support a 3% inflationary adjustment.
All right, any other discussion on the motion on the floor? All right, let's take a vote, please.
Council members Nitzert,
Yes.
Selberg,
Yes.
Sale,
Yes.
Starr,
No.
Baranco,
No.
Cole,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
McCurris.
Yes.
All right, that passes 6-2. Next item.
Next item is item 60, a public hearing for a resolution adopting the budget for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2023, and the 2023-2027 capital program. Sponsor is the mayor.
All right, so this is a proposed hearing on the, or not proposed hearing, public hearing on the proposed budget resolution. There's no action to be taken here. At this time, it's simply for input, discussion on the budget. That's why I brought up earlier, do we want to do this the last item or on this item? But we will again take any input anyone has on the budget resolution at this time. Come on up. So you get another crack at the apple if you want it.
There you go. Good evening, Nancy Halverson. I'm short, Executive Director of Levitt at the Falls. Just wanted to reiterate support for this position of an arts coordinator for the city. I've had the opportunity to live in many big cities across the country that have had active art scenes. Coming back to Sioux Falls 5 years ago, I have been just so pleased to see the growth in our city in the support for the arts. But with that growth has come a lot of kind of things spinning on their own, as things do as they grow. And I think it would be really helpful at this time to have one voice that can help make the communication with the city happen more smoothly, more transparently, and just more progressively. We have so many wonderful things happening here, but we need to all be on the same page when we're moving forward, especially as it comes to spending money in the arts, which have proven to be such a great piece of our economic development for our community. So I thank you for what you've been doing, and I just ask that you support this as we move forward. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Nancy. Anyone else want to speak on the proposed budget resolution that didn't get a chance to earlier? All right, going twice. All right, we will move on to our next item then, please.
Item number 62 is a resolution of
61, I believe.
61, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I grabbed 2 pages. 61 is a resolution approving the interim 2022 budget for the Experienced Sioux Falls Business Improvement District. Sponsor is the mayor.
Hey, Sean.
I'm back,
All
and I'll
right.
be brief. So this afternoon at the informational, you heard from Terry Schmidt in regard to the Experience Sioux Falls Business Improvement District budgets. So there's two budgets in front of you tonight. The first one is the interim budget for $50,000. This covers the period of October through December of this year because they have established their own legal entity for Experience Sioux Falls, and they're converting calendar years to calendar year from a September 30th end fiscal year. So this is a one-time consideration, and then everything will be calendar year like this, the next one that's coming up on the agenda. So Terry is here if you have any questions.
All right, thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
Anyone from the public here to speak on item 61 tonight? All right, council, questions for Sean or for Terry tonight on this?
Move approval, Jensen.
Second, Sale.
Okay, motion by Jensen, seconded by Sale to approve item 61. Discussion on that motion, Counselor Starr?
Yes, just quickly, this is an awesome thing. It's always been hard to match up budgets to what we're doing city-wise, and to have Experience Sioux Falls be able to be in line with what we're doing makes sense. I think there's probably a couple of other larger groups that we'd love to see them move their budget to match the same, so when we're doing audit and when we're looking at different things, that it just matches up better. So thank you for doing this, Terry, and thank you for your organization.
All right, other discussion on the motion here? All right, let's take a vote on it then, please.
Council members Nitzert,
Yes.
Selberg,
Yes.
Sale,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Baranco,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
McCurris.
Yes.
All right, that's going to pass 8-0. Item 62.
Item 62 is a resolution approving the 2023 budget for the Experience Sioux Falls Business Improvement District. Sponsor is the mayor.
So this is the full calendar year for 2023 as required by ordinance to bring forward to have approved for the Experience Sioux Falls bid. The amount of the budget is $2.03 million. It's funded by the $2 tax on hotel rooms occupied in Sioux Falls. It is completely passed through, so it's all revenue, all expense, no net impact to the city's books.
All right, thanks, Sean. Anyone from the public here to speak on 62? Questions on this one, council? Take a motion.
So move call.
Second.
Motion by Cole, seconded by Jensen. Any discussion on that motion? All right, let's take a vote.
Council members Nitzert,
Yes.
Selberg,
Yes.
Sale,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Baranco,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
McCurris.
Yes.
All right, that's going to pass 8-0. Item 63, please.
Item 63 is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement between the City of Sioux Falls and Mapleton Township to reimburse Mapleton Township for potential additional road maintenance due to city hauling. Sponsor is the mayor.
Hey, Mark.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. This is an agreement with Mapleton Township. They're the township immediately north of the City of Sioux Falls. One of the key programs that the city has done for over 30 years is to take the biosolids, which is a byproduct of treating wastewater, and it allows farmers to sign up for this program. Ultimately, if they're on the list, it allows them to avoid buying commercial fertilizer. As we've switched our process and have more product to get out to more farmers, the city has some land that's generally northeast of Sioux Falls, and there was a conditional use permit that we've applied through with the county and we're granted it. One of the conditions that came out of it was concern from Mapleton Township and some area residents that with the additional hauling, which could be 3 to 4 trucks per day, that it could require additional maintenance on those gravel roads above and beyond what their current maintenance is. And so this is a 3-year agreement that allows them to, allows the city to reimburse them for actual costs up to $5,000 a year. Mapleton Township's already passed it, and so we would ask for your support tonight to complete our conditional use permit process.
All right, very good. Thank you, Mark. Anyone from the public here to speak on item 63 tonight? Council, any questions for Mr. Cotter here?
Move approval. Second, Jensen.
All right, motion by Selberg, seconded by Jensen. Discussion on that motion. All right, let's take a vote.
Council members Nitzert,
Yes.
Selberg,
Yes.
Sale,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Baranco,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
McCurris.
Yes.
That passes 8-0. Next item, please.
Item 64 is a resolution approving the special assessment role for the Main Street Business Improvement District in the city of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Sponsor is the mayor.
Dustin, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Dustin Powers, Planning and Development Services. Item 64 is asking City Council's approval of an assessment levy for the Main Street Business Improvement District. The map on the screen indicates the Business Improvement District boundaries, which is reflective of our downtown boundaries for downtown Sioux Falls. The area identified is about 450 acres. There are 235 properties that will be levied by the resolution here tonight. Funds generated by the Business Improvement District are administered through Downtown Sioux Falls Incorporated. Joe Batchelor with Downtown Sioux Falls is here tonight, and I'll have him come up briefly to discuss the services that are provided with these funds. A couple items I wanted to point out quickly is the resolution you're voting on tonight is a cumulative assessment of $203,674.28 on 235 properties. The most any one property pays is $1,700. This is the Main Street Business Improvement District. It was created in 1989, so this is the 33rd year. We're seeking support of this item. Notice of hearing was published in the paper on the 29th of July and the 5th of August of today's meeting. And we also have a Main Street Business Improvement District Board that this was brought in front of, and they unanimously recommended approval to support this assessment. I want to make an additional note. I know that there's been some discussions around changes to this assessment. Those are not reflected in this assessment. This is our standard formula and assessment methodology that we've been using for the last 33 years. It's not, those changes would be reflective of next year, and we'll actually have an informational presentation next week on that Joe will give. So this assessment in front of you tonight is our normal assessment that we've been doing for the previous years. So no changes to that. So with that, I'll have Joe come up and give you a brief discussion on the services, and happy to answer any questions.
All right, thanks, Dustin. Good evening, Joe.
Good evening, Council. Mr. Mayor. So DTSF, we administer the Main Street Business Improvement District. We've been doing this for 33 years, as Mr. Powers said. And what we do is we use the funds that are generated through the bid assessment revenue to make downtown a clean, safe, and beautiful place, a place where people want to be a part of. And so we do that with sidewalk sweeping, with litter control, with watering flowers in the summertime. We've added some programs. Last year we started a ambassador program that we piloted, and that's been very successful. And we'd like to grow that. With the ambassador program, what we do are some outreach efforts, and we are providing information to visitors and shoppers downtown. We're helping people out on the streets that might need help, making connections to the link, for example. We water, in terms of beautification, we water about 128 hanging flower baskets and about 110 planters in downtown. We sweep enough sidewalks to go from downtown Sioux Falls to New York City in a year. We hang enough holiday lights to stretch from downtown to Rowena, South Dakota. We sweep enough trash off of the sidewalks by hand to outweigh an elephant every year. So that's the kind of impact that we have with the Business Improvement District's assessment revenue as an organization. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
All right, thanks, Joe. Anyone from the public here to speak on item 64 tonight? Council, got any questions for Joe or for Dustin on the bid here? All right, look for a motion.
Approval.
Second, Sale.
Motion by Jensen, seconded by Sale. Discussion on that motion. All right, hearing none, let's vote on that, please.
Council members Nitzert,
Yes.
Selberg,
Yes.
Sale,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Baranco,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
McCurris.
Yes.
All right, that's going to pass 8-0. Next item.
Item 66 is a resolution of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, approving the placement of a sculpture on public property. Sponsor is the mayor.
I am the sponsor, but I'm not speaking to this. Diane is going to when she gets her PowerPoint going. There we go.
I don't do it often enough anymore.
Sorry about
Thank
that.
you.
Diane DeClaire, Planning and Development Services. I'm here to present to you Jake on bass. He is the 2020 People's Choice Award for Sculpture Walk. Jake is a chocolate lab playing the bass guitar. He will be placed out at the Levitt at the Falls, just in the star-shaped area, the landscape island, just south of the restrooms, close to the sidewalk. So he'll be amongst the landscaping and elevated on a quartzite foundation.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Anyone from the public here to speak on 66? All right, council, any questions for Diane on this?
Move approval. Night, sir.
Second call.
All right, motion by Nitzert, seconded by Cole. Discussion, council? All right, let's take a vote.
Council members Nitzert,
Yes.
Selberg,
Yes.
Sale,
Yes.
Star,
Yes.
Baranco,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
McCurris.
Yes.
All right, that's going to pass 8-0. Next item.
Item 67 is a resolution advising and giving consent to the appointment of members to certain citizen boards. Sponsor is the mayor. The boards are Electrical Board of Appeals and Examiners, Darrell Bren, Bannon Larson, Andrew Ritter. The Falls Community Health Center Governing Board, Carrie Benz and Angela Landine. The Public Transit Advisory Board, Joni Cheddar. The Zoning Board of Adjustment, Joshua Mukenham and Richard Thomason.
All right, any of those folks here tonight? All right, thank you for serving to that great group. I just need does anyone from the public want to speak about any of those folks? All right, just need a motion then.
So moved, Branco.
Second, Jensen.
All right, motion by Baranco, seconded by Jensen to approve item 67. Any discussion there? All right, let's vote on that, please.
Council members Nitzert,
Yes.
Selberg,
Yes.
Sale,
Yes.
Star,
Yes.
Baranco,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
McCurris.
Yes.
All right, that passes 8-0. Council, we got any new business tonight? All right, hearing none there. Let's move to general public input. That will be for items we didn't talk about earlier in the evening. So 3 minutes per person on anything on your mind. So come on up if you're here for general public input. Good evening.
Greetings. I'm David Zokaitis, and I'm here to talk about something nobody really wants to talk about. I just think that police shouldn't kill anybody. So that's today's topic. All right, now there's a few reasons for this, one of which is rather biblical. Jesus said, do to the least of my brothers, that kind of stuff. And another reason is rather practical. If you kill a terrorist, you can't interrogate. Bad practice. Now, if you look back over the decades, you see a regular pattern. There's some major abuse of police power and then mass protests and all this talk about accountability and reform, and then nothing ever happens, and then the protests disappear. And well, so there's something going on in the background that I think is rather nefarious. I think really some politicians want civil rights abuses. Now, look at what happened after George Floyd was killed. All this talk in Congress, and then nothing happens. So if you see that over and over again, I've gotten rather suspicious. The government has a great variety of weapons available for dealing with law enforcement, and one of them is just taking all of your money with legal fees. We should consider that to be a weapon, and there are many others. Now, police have a strategy of escalating force, take it easy to start with and build up, but sometimes they just start with the final solution. I've heard a prison guard talking about police strategy to really bother people until they react physically. Kind of dangerous. Oh, and wouldn't it be nice to solve some social problems so that there's just less crime and less violence, and then you wouldn't need to worry about things so much? And there are some things that you could do for safer weaponry. You could have the first 3 bullets in every magazine to be less than lethal. You could use beanbag rounds maybe some new ideas. You know, this is the year 2022, and you know, we can do things. I'm also no fan of no-knock warrants. They are rather dangerous. And I think if you had the right drones in there, you wouldn't need no-knock warrants. And you could, you know, if you fix drug prohibition, that would also solve a lot of problems. And of course, you know, there's the happy picture in the end. And here's farm country. Welcome to South Dakota. Good evening, everybody.
All right, thank you. Anyone else for general public input tonight? Come on up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening.
Members of council, my name is Brendan Johnson. I am a member of and represent Smart Growth Sioux Falls. We are an organization opposed to the construction of new slaughterhouses inside the city limits. We had more than 10,000 Sioux Falls residents sign our petition to put this issue on the November ballot. And more than 78% of city voters polled support moving slaughterhouses outside of our city limits. I want to touch on some of the concerns our community will be debating over the next 2 months. First, residents are concerned about odor. Slaughterhouses, they smell bad. Even Holstone's spokesperson admitted, quote, "I can't promise it will never smell." Residents are also concerned about water supply, which is already growing scarce in our city. Holstone will use an estimated 3 million gallons of water per day. That will only make water scarcer for other businesses and for the rest of us. Residents are concerned that the Big Sioux is already polluted. Holstone plans to process 6 million pigs a year approximately. That is going to generate a massive amount of discharge. How is that going to make the Big Sioux healthier? How will our roads handle the additional traffic brought on by the trucks that we're going to need to haul 6 million pigs into our city? Residents are concerned their property values are going to crater and that there will not be enough affordable housing for 1,000 new employees that Holstone plans to add to the city. So my question for this council, has the city ever conducted an independent scientific evaluation of the impacts Holstone Slaughterhouse is going to have on odor, water pollution, water scarcity, traffic, property values, and the future growth and development in Sioux Falls? It's not a rhetorical question. If the city had the foresight to do that, then that should be shown to the voters. If we haven't, then it's time to press pause. Now, what we know is that this issue is going to be in front of your voters, the voters of this community in November. What we want is a free and fair debate. Let the voters decide. Holstone wants to avoid that process. What their CEO said, Luke Minion, their chair, Luke Minion, said, quote, "No matter the ballot, Holstone is moving forward." In my experience, South Dakota voters, Sioux Falls voters, don't like being told by any business or any government that their vote's not going to matter. That's exactly why we're going to need a moratorium by this council to make sure those votes do matter.
Thank you, Brandon. Appreciate
Okay. Thank you. I hope this council will consider moratorium. Appreciate it.
Good evening.
Good evening. Chester DeYoung, Sioux Falls. Back on November 30th of 2021, I had a meeting with engineers, Mr. Berg, Peppel, Hoftheiser, and Bieber. During that meeting, I brought up the fact that the city was planning to violate Chapter 8 of the Street Design and Pavement Thickness, approved in January of 19. How they planned to violate it started with the number of residents. That the city standard sets these standards so that you can only have so much traffic for public safety. They plan on violating the number of houses they can have on Sycamore and Taylor Street by more than double. They can only have 140. They're going to have 296. I then presented the traffic counts to them. The traffic count for the existing homes, 375, I add in everything that's going to come in from the apartment complex. That comes to 1,065. When I asked Mr. Berg how they could do something like that, and he said, executive decision, it don't matter, it's going to happen. I was real fortunate. Mr. Hoftheiser turned around on December 1st and actually did a traffic count. That traffic count came back 792. I didn't hear from Mr. Berg how many cars he thought would be on the street, but I heard from Mr. Hoftheiser he's planning 500. So he missed his estimate by 158%. If you take the existing number of 792, take Andy's number of 590, which was a number that we'd basically agreed to, and oh wait, he missed that number by 158%, that first one. So that's 932. We're going to have 1,724 cars potentially at Sycamore and Taylor Street, and the city code says no more than 700. If you take a look at Chapter 5, Street Access, it says anytime you have a multifamily residential unit exceeding 150 units, you must have a traffic count. You know what? They didn't do one until after they planned on opening the street, and I told them what's going on. You know, the city just thinks the engineering department thinks they're bigger than anybody. They don't have to follow all their own rules. That's not right. That means somebody in the engineering Public Works Department isn't doing their job if they're letting that go through. So I just ask that the city council remember what's going on. I will be present. You guys get to see me for probably 2 years yet, because that's about how fast the engineering department works. So look forward to visiting with you. Thank you.
All right, anyone else for public input tonight? All right, take a motion to adjourn us.
So moved, Jensen.
All right, motion by Jensen, second by Barranco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Have a good night, everybody.